Alright, for the 5-board bench, we are going to use like a rough planed pine. This pretty much calls for like a 5/4 pine, but the only thing I was really able to find within a reasonable cost was just rough planed pine, and this is 7/8 of an inch thick. And I'm just going to go over it a little bit with a hand plane after, and kind of distress it a little bit, make it look really rough. That's kind of the look I'm going for, beat up, old, even though it's brand new. So anyway, so the seat itself is 43 inches by 11.5. Then we have the legs, and the legs are 11 by 15. There's 2 of them. And then the shelves. Okay. I'm going to make this differently because it's for a hallway bench, and we're going to keep some gloves in it, so I'm going to make a little tilt, well, you'll see. And then a shelf underneath for more shoes and stuff, which you'll see. So we need 2 shelves, and they are going to be 28 1/4 by 11. So 11 inches wide, 28 1/4 inches long, and there's 2 of them. And then we have the sides, and the sides are 4 inches by 42 inches long. So I'm gonna bigger. Sometimes the sides are on the outside, sometimes they're built into the legs. I'm gonna build them into the legs. Alright, and now that I've got these all cut, so I've cut them all to these dimensions, right? Now that I've got them all cut, I have to make a 45-degree cut on the ends of these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure these 1 inch down, make a mark, right? And then we are going to use our square, our tri-square, and we are going to find that mark here and then do my 45-degree angle, right? So 1 inch down, find the very edge there, mark it off, and then we'll cut it with the miter saw. Now we're going to hand plane it, and while we hand plane it, I want to make a bit of a mess. Alright, so I'm going to knock off some of the other plane marks, and overall I want some lines and some gashes in it. So just kind of rough plane it. Okay. I don't want it too nice. There. Make a bit of a mess out of it. Okay. Alright, so what we want to do is we're actually going to cut out a couple of little grooves here to fit these sides in. So these are the legs, these are the sides. So what you want to do is take your side, and we're going to use this as our mark. We're going to mark that off. Alright. And we're going to do that on both of them. Like so. And then, after you mark that, we're going to mark the width, right? So we'll take this, mark the width of the board. Make sure that's flush. And there you go. That way you know how much to cut off. So if you look here, our sides are going to sit here. I'm going to cut this shoulder out, okay? And that's part of the bench design. Alright, because this is basically going to be used as a shoe seat in a friend of mine in his hallway, I'm going to put a secondary shelf here. So the leg will come up, there'll be space underneath it, there'll be a shelf, and then over here there will be another piece of wood, and I'll have like just a small place to put some gloves and hats, something really tiny but fun nonetheless. So I'm going to measure up. About 5 inches, right? And that's where I'm going to put my shelf, at the 5-inch mark. So the shelf will be on this side of the 5 inches. It's pretty much dead center, all right, from the other side, from the shoulder down. So now on the legs, we know where the bottom of our bottom shelf is going to be here, right? So our shelf is going to sit like this. So we're going to find the center. And the center, it's 11 inches, so the center's at 5.5 inches, right? And then you're going to find, let's do it a little bit better, 5.5 inches. Alright, I'm going to use the square to make a line. A little bit bigger so it's easier to see. Okay. And then we are going to use a 1 5/8 Forstner bit. You don't have to use one of these bits if you don't have it. You could just cut a profile in it. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to move this up so it's just at the bottom of the board so it looks right. There we go. So right there, X marks the spot. Okay. I'm going to do that on both of these. Right? That way it'll go, the hole will go right to the bottom, and then I'll make an angled cut like that, which we'll do next. So now we'll drill it out with the drill press. Uh-oh. There we go. Oh my goodness. There's not enough throat depth. I need a bigger drill press. Not enough throat depth. That really sucks. Alright. So we'll be close to that then, I guess. Alright, so I've drilled out the holes, and what I've done is I've measured up 3.5 inches, and I've measured in 2.5. Measure this on this side, 2.5 inches. So then I'll do is I'll take my square to the 3.5 inch mark. I'll make some marks there, and then I'll take the ruler part here and go from this mark all the way down. And that's what the bottom will look like. I'll have that little cutout. Sorry. Alright? And then most of the circle. So something a little different. So anyway, I just cut it out with a jigsaw. So this is the profile. I'll clean that up, and then we'll glue this all together. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use a file, and I'm just going to smooth out the edges a little bit. So we're using sandpaper. Sometimes a file's kind of nice to use. Now here's the fun part, the assembly. So what we're going to need our 2 legs, we're going to need our top inside shelf, we're going to need our bottom shelf, and we're going to need one side. The side is our spacer to hold everything in place. So I'm we want to find out the inside. Now, our shelf is going to go on. Whoops. Our shelf is going to go on like this, right? And it is going to go on top of these, right? So it's going to go over here. Not below it, but up here. Okay? So, what we want to do is run a bead of glue where that's going to go. So, nice big bead of glue. Lasts a good long time. Now, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put our shelf in. And then, we're going to tack it all together. So, like this. Now make sure it's lined up at the bottom. I have to line it up. And I'm going to tack it in place with 1/4 inch brads. Tack the bottom, line up the top. Tack the top. And finish it off. Do the other side, same thing. Line everything up nice. Tack the bottom. Tack the top. Line it up. Back in place. Okay. Now we're going to do the 2 shelves, which are going to fit in here nicely. Okay. And we're going to run a bead of glue on those where they're going to go. Both sides. And we're going to put the shelf in place. And we're going to tack that in. So, line up the top. Line up the bottom. Oops. Tack in place. The other side. Okay, so you have them tacked in place. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put our sides on. So we're going to center that and glue it and tack it into place. So let's do that. Set this on its side to be a little easier. And then, I don't remember what my measurement was. Inch overhang to the edge. Yeah. So let's mark that. That's where I want it to be. And mark it. Then get out the glue, or a bead of glue. Make sure you get the shoulders. Go all the way down. end up where you left your mark. Tack it into place. And then all the way down here where the shelf is, you gotta tack it in. Now I'm going to use a countersink bit, and I'm going to pre-drill this and reinforce it with screws. So I put a few screws in here and there. And on top of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some plugs in the holes. I'm actually going to reinforce it with number 8 1.5 inch screws. Make it nice and strong. Alright, so we're just going to do a flyby here. This is basically what it looks like. Right. Okay, and we'll do the top off here, which isn't on a hinge yet. But you can see that's all the space you have. Now, the shelf on the bottom, it's big enough for a shoe to go underneath here and in here. Okay, and then in here, it's not really huge, but you can fit hats and gloves and things in there. Not a lot of them, obviously, but it's not really designed for, you know, massive storage. So anyway, I have to put a hinge on this. Also where the holes are here, I have to put plugs in those and glue all that, and then we'll do some more distressing and then a little bit of sanding and staining. Alright, so I've gone and distressed this a little bit. I used a hand plane on it, only to find out I was better at hand planing than I thought I was. So I had to skew the blade to one side, and then I jammed it in a bunch of times and tried to rough it up. And then I used a hammer. I hammered the edges here and there, a couple of scuff marks here and there, a couple with the ends. Then you're just got a scratch hole, and so what you do is every once in a while you just jam it in a couple of spots. Makes it look like wormholes. So basically just stab it a few times here and there, and it looks like there's been worms in your wood, right? So it's old, distressed, kind of not the best prime type wood. So anyway, that's what I've done, and now I've got to put the piano hinge, which is right here. I'm going to put the piano hinge on it, so now you can decide how you're going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it where I want my hinge to sit. And just basically draw a line all the way down. Alright, so there's where it's going to be. That's where I want to route out. Alright, so I've measured out how far I want this, and I've put up a fence. Okay, just a block of wood on top, clamped to the workpiece clamped to the workmate, and I'm trying to keep the cord out of the rotor bit. And let's see if this is good. That's right to the line. It looks like it's the depth that I want. Let me just verify the depth here. That looks reasonably good. Okay, now I'm gonna do the whole thing. Now, so what I've done is I've set these clamps to the right height. So you kind of put your wood here, you line it up, you line up your clamps, right? So it's flush here, not here, but where the hinge sits, right? and that way that'll help support this board when I shoot the hinge. Okay? Okay, and that should close nicely. Well, looks pretty good. If you have to make any adjustments, now's the time. I think you're going to have to back this one up a little bit. For some reason, it's out too far. Alright, we fit the hinge and made sure everything's okay. Now what we have to do is take out these plugs. Well, we don't take them off, we have to cut them flush, right? So you want to go with the grain, and the easiest way, actually, right-handed here, we'll flip that around. So, you want to have your chisel kind of on an angle there. Just tap it. It'll come out pretty flush. Okay, just go around and do all of them. You don't want to dig in too far. Okay. Now to finish them off flush, you can just do them by hand, or you can tap it with a hammer. Depending on how sharp your chisel is, really. If your chisel is really sharp, then this actually is really easy by hand. I'm going to have to sharpen my chisel. So anyway, you want it pretty much flush. You can sand the rest of it. Alright, so I've stained it and I've varnished it. And what I'm going to do, I've varnished it 3 times with like a rub-on varnish, which I kind of like. And now I'm going to go over it with 220 grit sandpaper, just a quick light sand to knock off all the high spots and things. And then I'm going to polish it up just with a shop towel, actually. Just some old shop towels. So, and then I'll give it a nice polish, and then I'll assemble it. Okay, in order to get this to sit flat, I'm actually going to take a clamp. I'm going to clamp that here to kind of hold it up. That'll help to hold it in position so I can put the screws in. So now that we've got it kind of sorted out, we're going to put a few more screws in. Make sure that it sits nicely. Make sure it shuts where how we want it to shut. It feels nice and smooth. Okay. Okay, I like the look of that. It's not exactly perfect, but it's probably as close as I'm going to get. So I'm going to finish putting it. Alright, so here it is, the finished product. You can sit on it, put on your boots and stuff. Has a shelf here. Let's just take off the shoe here. It's not very big, but my friend wanted a shelf so you can put your shoes in. And then you put your shoes in, you can fit your shoes underneath it. Normally they don't have this board here, the 5-board benches, but that's what he wanted, so that's what he's got. And then because the space is dead anyway, what I decided to do was put in a bit of a shelf there and have this on a piano hinge. And it's really tricky to get these piano hinges just right, so mine squeaks a bit. And I'm just going to leave it like that because I want it to look antique, so the squeak kind of goes anyway. So that's it. That's my modified 5-board bench, and thanks for watching.